A big thanks to Brabura by Hearthstone Outdoor for sponsoring this episode.
This is the Brabura plancha made by Hearthstone Outdoor. And the cool thing about this is going to give me that typical flavor that you're used to with fajitas that you get in a restaurant. The real good stuff, that crusty outside with beautiful meat. So stick around because I'm going to show you exactly how that works. I'll be using skirt steak for my fajitas. It's the perfect cut to make fajitas with. It has a great amount of intermuscular fat that's going to render down, and it's a working meat, which means we're going to have a lot of flavor. The skirt steak has long stringy fibers that run across the steak. If we take a closer look at that, we can see how beautiful that is. And you can see that this meat will tear apart very, very easy. If you would eat the steak like this, it's going to be very chewy because of those long strings. But the trick is to take that skirt steak and cut it into thin little blocks. I'm going to take my boning knife and I'm going to cut this into the long strips first, and then I'm going to slice it up to have that perfect experience that we're looking for in my fajitas. This is one of the most important steps you can do in making fajitas. Don't skip it. Besides the beautiful meat, every fajita restaurant has their own signature salsa. It's what makes them stand apart from the next restaurant. Of course, they can get the beef just like they can, but they will never be able to get that secret salsa recipe that you love so much. I'm going to give you my recipe. I'm going to start by slicing up 2 white onions. I'm going to use my chef knife to peel them, cut them in half, and then slice them into rings. Next up, 2 garlic cloves, 2 bell peppers. For making the salsa, I'm going to turn on 2 of the burners from my Brabura plancha. This is going to give me a really warm spot on this side, and here I have a cooler spot. So if I'm cooking and I have some ingredients that are done cooking, I can move them to a cooler position on the plancha and keep them warm there until the rest is cooked. And while the plancha is warming up, I'm going to put a pan on the plancha, and it's going to heat up with my plancha. And therein goes a little bit of olive oil and a can of fine grated tomatoes. And I'm going to let that come up to a boil and evaporate as much moisture out of it as I can. And once you see the bubbles in the passata, you know the plancha is hot and you can cook the rest of the ingredients. All you need is a little bit of olive oil, and then put the onions on. Fry them until they turn soft. Then add the garlic and the bell peppers. A little bit more olive oil. And that beautiful char that we're getting on the onions and the bell pepper, that's going to be flavor for our salsa. You definitely don't want to miss out on this step to add flavor to your dish. The onions are going to be sweet. The bell peppers are going to have that nice paprika style flavor. You can see that the onion has become translucent as well as the paprika. It really toned down in color and it's turning soft, so it's kind of like starting to bend. That's how you know it's done and it's time to take it off the grill. The passata is done as well. You can see that most of the moisture is gone from the tomatoes, and all you're left with is this thick puree that you made yourself. And the difference between this thick puree and the one you get in a can is that this one is really, really sweet. So we don't have to add any sugars to it. It's just going to be all natural. I'm going to put the bell peppers, the onions and the garlic into the blender. To that I'm going to add the reduced passata. Then comes my magic ingredient. This is chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. These are smoked peppers in tomato sauce. They're super, super tasty. With this sauce, I'm going to add 3 of these peppers, and that's going to give it its ultimate Mexican experience. Of course, I want to have some cilantro. I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of salt and a teaspoon of fresh ground pepper. And then I'm going to blitz it up until I have a smooth puree. Let's do a quick taste test to see if we have success. Oh, this looks amazing. Rich and creamy. Oh. If only you could taste this.
Powerful.
I'm going to slice 3 bell peppers, a green one, a red one and a yellow one. The bell peppers and the onions are the cornerstone of a good fajita. These flavors next to the beef are going to make it the signature fajita dish. I'm using my chef's knife to slice them into thin strips. I'm going to do the same thing for 2 white onions. The preparations are done. We got the meat ready, we got the vegetables ready, we got the salsa ready. Now it's time to go back to our plancha and finish this project off. For making the salsa, I had 2 burners on my Brabura plancha. Now I'm going to turn on the 3rd burner and I'm going to set it to cook at a low position. This meat has a lot of intermuscular fat, and in itself it does not need grease to, well, basically get a good crust on the outside. But I want to create the non-stick surface, so I'm going to put on a little bit of olive oil. Now the beef goes on. We're going to get that sear. We're going to get that crust. And on this side, where I got a lower heat, I'm going to put the vegetables. And the vegetables do need a little bit of oil. So that's going to go on first. Vegetables on. Just look at that. That is my artifact, and that is all flavor. This is not only practical cooking, this is having fun. Just look at this. This is cooking at its best. Of course it needs some seasoning, salt and pepper. I'm gonna spread it all over. Now I'm going to take the beef off. It's been cooked well enough, and all we're gonna have now is losing moisture. So I want the crunchy exterior, I want it to be like a medium rare on the inside, and then basically it's done. To finish off the onions and the bell peppers, I'm going to move it over to the beef fat. But before I do that, I'm going to take that beef fat, because it's a lot of beef fat, and I'm going to put half of it away into my dripping tray that sits underneath here. And I'm going to leave a little bit of that beef fat right there. So I'm going to move it over to the hot side, and I'm going to finish it off in that beef fat, giving it more and more flavor. Scooping up that last bit of beef scraps that sit on the plancha, the crusty exteriors with lots and lots of flavor. This is going to be done in less than 30 seconds. All right, time to take this off, put this aside. I'm going to put my tortillas on this and let them soak up the rest of the flavors that sit on this plancha. I got fireproof hands, but don't try that at home. Flip them around. Look at that beautiful crust that sits on the inside. I'm going to put a scoop of salsa on top of those tortillas. And that's our signature salsa. A little bit of bell peppers and onion. Some beef. Do a little bit more, of course. All you need to do is just work with it. You're going to make it as simple as possible. Just scoop this up. Look at that beautiful crusty exterior. Now the trick is to not put too much in. Just a little bit. That is pure flavor. Bite-size flavor. I have 2 guests right here that came to bring us the Brabura. They come from Spain. They know a thing or two about good food.
That's perfect. Amazing. Yeah.
Yes. What more do you want to know? It is tasty. You need to try this recipe. If you want to know more about the Brabura, you have to go down below. The link's right there. You can find out all about this beautiful machine. In the meantime, we're gonna eat well today, guys.